Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Remember to vote in the poll at the top right corner of the video, and like and subscribe for cursed items next time you play. Maybe. Today we're building Nightmare, a classic story of boy meets boy, stabs boy, boy's blood drips onto sword. That happens a lot. The sword becomes alive and possesses boys to make them bad boys. It's kind of a knockoff of that one Shakespeare play. You know the one I'm talking about. I'm a sword and you're a sword and we're all swords and we're all swords together. Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, you're a sword, which isn't a playable race in D&D, but we can get the flavor of an evil corrupting weapon. Second, the sword is big, so we need something to really cleave people in half. Finally, we'll get some really heavy armor to make sure that we can fend off all the Soul Calibur wielders trying to kill us. For stats, we're using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, but make sure your strength and charisma are looking good. Strength is going to be number 1. You want that at 15 to get the heaviest armor you can. Charisma after that. Corrupting noble warriors requires some conversational cunning. Constitution next. We'll be casting some spells, so we want decent concentration at the very least. Follow that up with intelligence. As an arcane weapon, you're probably in the know about other arcane weapons. I'm sure there are mixers with Excalibur, Mjolnir, and Glamdring. Wisdom is a bit low. It can be hard to see and hear when you're in unholy corrupted armor. We'll dump dexterity though. With all that heaviness, you don't really need it. You're not really nimble. Race is a little complicated because, again, big evil sword, not a race. Though you do have an inherently evil nature that extends to attacks you make with yourself, I guess. So we'll go with Fallen Aasimar. It also gives you power building stats with +2 charisma and +1 strength. If we can't be accurate, we might as well be strong. You get 60 feet of dark vision so you can see in dim light like bright light and no light like dim light with no color. Celestial resistance to resist necrotic and radiant damage, the light bearer ability for the light cantrip, which lets you see in color in the dark. People have gotten mad at me for saying it's useless when you have dark vision, so I guess seeing in color within 10 feet of you, apparently huge buff. I guess it makes playing Simon easier. Finally, you get healing hands, letting you heal an amount equal to your total level as an action to a creature you touch, and you can touch yourself. Probably why one hand is so much bigger than the other one. For background, go for deception and intimidation. Hopefully that lets you corrupt some people who will pick you up and swing you around. If we're gonna be a possessed person, let's start off with a person, and paladins are personable people, so it would be the perfect person to possess for persuasion skills and athletics, though athletics lacks the alliteration I was going for there. Had to break the cycle eventually. You get divine sense, letting you detect celestials, fiends, and undead within 60 feet of you. I think that includes whatever Valdo is. You also get lay on hands, giving you a pool of healing equal to 5 times your paladin level. You can distribute as an action to keep your German host alive and swing your Zweihander, which is German for big ass sword. Speaking of Zweihander, second level paladins get a fighting style, and great weapon fighting lets you reroll 1s and 2s on damage die when you're attacking with a weapon you're holding with 2 hands. I know Nightmare can one-arm his sword, so technically you could call it a longsword, which would be more versatile. Or we could just be true to ourselves and call it a great sword because it's more fun and works better with great weapon fighting. Because the damage of a great sword is 2d6, that doubles the chance to reroll damage, and 6 + 6 is bigger than the 10 maximum you could get from longsword. I used to be a math major. You can also scoop up some paladin spells. Shield of Faith adds 2 to the AC of a creature of your choice for up to 10 minutes depending on your concentration. Your armor is definitely heavy, so I don't want mage armor, but it's also kind of magic, so I kind of do. This is a nice way to make your armor magical and heavy, but my favorite paladin spell is always going to be Divine Smite, which isn't a spell. It uses spell slots like a spell and adds 2d8 radiant damage to a weapon attack and an extra d8 against fiends, undead, and whatever the hell Valdo is. Maybe. If he's a fiend or undead, it would. To stay thematic with Corrupt Magic Sword, we'll jump over to Hexblade Warlock because that is Corrupt Magic Sword, the class. You're a Hex Warrior, letting you make weapon attacks using your Charisma modifier, as long as you're not using a two-handed weapon. For now, just stick to your strength. It's equal to your Charisma anyway. You also get Hexblade's Curse, letting you pick a creature to break with your big evil sword for the next minute. When attacking them, you can add your proficiency bonus to damage rolls, crit on a 19 or a 20, and heal an amount equal to your Warlock level and Charisma modifier when you drop them to 0 HP. You'd only do this once per short rest, but 1v1ing is sort of a way of life in the Soul Calibur universe. Hopefully it's the same way in your D&D campaign. You're going to be really good at 1v1ing people. Warlocks get cantrips as well. Chill Touch is a ranged spell attack that deals 1d8 necrotic damage and prevents the target from healing if you want to wreck them without them being able to unwreck themselves. New tradition for the next cantrip: anytime someone wants to be gross in the comment section, I'm going to put True Strike on a character build. And after the Tifa video, I'm up to, let's see here, 100 characters with True Strikes? Yikes. It's like a bunch of people played that game before they could understand the nuance of the story, and then turned the characters into objects, then never actually grew up and continued to gatekeep their communities rather than let themselves be vulnerable in front of people they're attracted to, leaving them alone and angry. Anyway, True Strike is pretty bad. Shield isn't though. It's a first level spell from the Hexblade list, adding 5 to your AC as a reaction when someone attacks you, letting you block with your big old sword. Wrathful Smite lets you add a d6 of psychic damage to your next weapon attack as a bonus action, then force a wisdom saving throw on the creature you hit, frightening the enemy for up to a minute depending on your concentration. I'd probably stick to Divine Smites, but if they resist the radiant damage for some reason, this is a decent substitute. Speaking of multiclassing things, multiclassing Warlock and another spellcaster gives you the same spell slots you would have if you weren't really multiclassing, but you can cast Warlock spells with Paladin slots and vice versa. As a Fallen Aasimar, you also get Necrotic Shroud at this level, forcing a wisdom saving throw on creatures within 10 feet of you and frightening them if they fail, and letting you add your total level in necrotic damage to 1 attack per round, which will lead to some massive damage at later levels. Second level Warlocks get Eldritch Invocations, which are special mini feats for Warlocks. We'll grab Devil's Sight at this point, which lets you have 120 feet of magical dark vision, so you can always see anything in full color, which again, very important, I think. For your next invocation, I'm just going to swap it out next level, so pick something you like and then swap it out next level. Third level Warlocks get a Pact Boon, a gift from your patron, which is your sword, which is yourself, so take Pact to the Blade, which will give you a sword that is you, which is your patron. It lets you conjure a weapon as an action. You can use your Hex Warrior with it, as long as it's a melee weapon, which a greatsword would be, and it's magical to overcome resistances. To make it even better, take the improved Pact Weapon feat, which adds 1 to your attack and damage rolls with your Pact Weapon. You'll have to give up whatever your second invocation was from last level, but it wasn't that good, was it? Most of them are related to Eldritch Blast, and we didn't take it because we took True Strike, because some of you were gross to my girl Tifa, and kinda to Ruby too. What a nightmare. Branding Smite is a spell that you get as a Hexblade. It adds 2d6 radiant damage to your next melee attack, and they can't be invisible for the next minute depending on your concentration. It's more oomph to a sword attack. That's kind of what you do. Fourth level Warlocks get an ability score improvement. Charisma will actually work better for hitting hard than Strength by the end of all this, and your athletics will be pretty great thanks to your proficiency bonus, so go for Charisma. Fifth level Warlocks get another invocation. Eldritch Smite lets you spend a Warlock slot to add a d8 of force damage to a weapon attack, so 3d8 since all of your Warlock slots are third level, and knock an enemy prone if it's huge or smaller, which will give you advantage on the next melee attack. For this level spell, Elemental Weapon from the Warlock list lets you turn a weapon magical for an hour depending on your concentration, adds 1 to the attack rolls, and lets you deal an extra d4 acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage to a hit. There's a lot going on with your sword. I'm not totally sure what kinds of damage are in there. Back over to Paladin now, cause oopsie daisy, looks like that evil sword ruined this nice Paladin's soul and now they're an Oathbreaker. Oathbreakers can still channel divinity, they just do it like jerks, with abilities like Control Undead. Forces a wisdom saving throw on undead creatures, failing that they're under your control for 24 hours, though it doesn't work on undead with a challenge rating higher than your Paladin level. You could also use Dreadful Aspect to frighten a creature that fails a wisdom saving throw for a minute, or until they make the save by getting more than 30 feet away from you. I don't think you actually can get 30 feet away from someone in Soul Calibur, but you can in D&D, so make sure you chase them down. You also get Divine Health, making you immune to disease. I'm guessing this is still going to be topical when this build comes out. That sucks. Stay home. Wash your hands. Fourth level Paladins get an ability score improvement because your sword can use your Charisma modifier. Just invest in the Charisma. I kind of like it because the sword is you and you are magic, so the sword's power should use your magic, right? Fifth level Paladins get an extra attack, letting you attack twice instead of once with your action. You're not super fast, but if you swing the sword up in the air and let gravity bring it down, that's a combo. For your second level spell, Find Steed lets you find a steed, conjuring a magical steed. I recommend a Warhorse for you, and it's a Fey, Fiend, or Celestial depending on what you want it to be. Fiend seems the most in character for you, and this speedy devil will give you some improved mobility. Sixth level Paladins get Aura of Protection, letting creatures of your choice within 10 feet of you add your Charisma modifier to their saving throws, and you tend to be within 10 feet of yourself, so that means you too. Another reason to prioritize investing in the Charisma, that and the fact that you're pretty terrifying. Seventh level Oathbreakers get Aura of Hate, letting creatures within 10 feet of you add your Charisma modifier to their damage rolls with their attacks. This is separate from your Hex Warrior ability, so basically you can add your Charisma modifier twice to be a truly massive magical sword. Eighth level Paladins get another ability score improvement or a feat, and is a plus 15 modifier to your damage rolls really enough? I don't think so. Grab Great Weapon Master feat to add 10 to the damage roll of an attack. If you're okay subtracting 5 from the attack roll, it's a little less accurate, but with 2 attacks per round, that's 65 damage just from your modifiers against a creature. And you can make another attack as a bonus action if you critically hit or reduce a creature to 0 HP with an expanded crit chance from the curse. Ooh, this is coming together well. I'm really feeling it. 9th level paladins can learn 3rd level spells. Bestow Curse is on the Oathbreaker list, and it lets you ruin someone's life even harder. Force a wisdom saving throw on a creature. Failing that, they are cursed by you in some effect, giving them disadvantage on skill checks and saving throws for ability scores of your choice, disadvantage on attack rolls against you, they have to make a wisdom save on their turns or do nothing, or in my opinion the most accurate, they take an extra d8 necrotic damage from your attacks. More damage every level. You came here for Big Angry Swordman, and gosh darn it, I am going to give you Big Angry Sword Man. 10th level paladins get Aura of Courage, making creatures within 10 feet of you immune to the frightened condition. Now that's of your choice, so you can still terrify people with your channel divinity, no worries. 11th level paladins get improved Divine Smite, adding a permanent d8 radiant damage to all of your attacks. Necrotic is definitely what I'm preferring, but there's some lasery stuff happening on those hits too. And again, I want to hit really hard. 12th level paladins get our last ability score improvement or feat. I'll actually go with the Resilient feat for Constitution because I hate odd numbers, and this will let us add our proficiency bonus to our Constitution saving throws, making you much better at concentrating on all your curses and such. 13th level paladins get 4th level spells. Death Ward is a pretty nice spell for anyone. Makes a creature immune to dying for the next 8 hours precisely one time, setting them at 1 HP instead of 0 HP the first time they would hit 0. You've invested in this host, it would be a shame if you lost them so early. 14th level paladins get Cleansing Touch, letting you remove the effect of any spell on a willing creature an amount of times per long rest equal to your charisma modifier. That way you won't be getting cursed like your enemies are. Our capstone is the 15th level of Oathbreaker, giving us supernatural resistance to resist non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage permanently. Unfortunately, just about everybody and their grandmother is packing a magical weapon in Soul Calibur, but it could be helpful. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, damage. Let's figure out how much damage you're doing with a Necrotic Shroud, Aura of Hate, Hex Warrior, Hexblade's Curse, Great Weapon Master, Improved Pact Weapon, Improved Divine Smite, a Divine Smite, an Eldritch Smite, and a Bestowed Curse. 4d6 plus 54 slashing damage, 12d8 radiant damage, 2d8 plus 20 necrotic damage, and 3d8 force damage in the first round of combat. That's a lot. I went through that pretty fast, so if you get average rolls, that's 154 total damage. You're also pretty thick, with health in the middle hundreds, 18 AC, resistance to physical damage, proficiency with 3 saving throws, and your charisma modifier for the rest of them. Finally, you're scary, with a huge intimidation modifier and pretty great other charisma skills to get things done and corrupt the world. For weaknesses, you'll burn through your spell slots pretty quickly if you're smiting as much as I'm recommending, so sustained fighting could be an issue. You're also loaded with various concentration spells and can only have one up at a time. Finally, your skills are limited outside of charisma, which could cause some issues. Boy, we really had to stretch for those weaknesses, didn't we? This is a top tier build and the best you're gonna get for an angry swordman. Get edgy, swing it around, and be a real nightmare for anyone who tries to fight you or understand your lore. Hopefully you just don't have to fight multiple people at once. You're not really suited for a tag tournament. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. I don't really know how to transition this, but it's time for Shrek characters. So vote for Shrek, Puss in Boots, or Fiona. And subscribe to Tulok and Mango. It's a lot of fun.